Welcome to the stream. Happy Tuesday. Almost said Wednesday there for a sec. He's losing it. He doesn't know what day of the week it is. Tends to happen sometimes. Welcome to the stream. We're hitting the ground running. Last time we played Higurashi, or read Higurashi. Played in red. We had finished the Somitsushi arc. We're going deep now into another arc I'm probably mispronouncing. Kageboushi. That's the best you're going to get out of me. So yeah, we're jumping right in. Again, don't know much about it. The only thing I may possibly know about it is that it kind of continues with some of the characters we met in this last arc. So we're not completely scrapping them yet. And then the hope is, we might not read for super long. I want to try to squeeze in, if I can help it, a blueprints run. Afterwards. One single blueprints run. Sorry, I stopped what I was thinking because I was thinking again of it's been like this for several days now, and I don't know if this is gonna make sense to anyone else, but Discord has up in its latest update has broken a certain feature in such a way that makes me annoyed and has been annoyed for the last several days. Not only did it break something as far as automatically toggling streamer mode, which I need it to when I go into OBS and open OBS, which again I know is maybe a me problem, but they somehow changed or broke it in a latest update and have yet to fix it. So I have to go manually, and that was the thing that I've been talking about the last couple of days. I feel on stream because I wasn't realizing what was happening, and then I was getting Discord notifications while sometimes streaming. I was like, what the hell? And I know I'm not the only one who has this problem because I went online and see other people are too. So I know it's not just a me problem, but also they did something in such a way where it Discord recognizes OBS as I don't even know. I don't even know the inner workings of Discord enough to actually accurately describe it. But they changed how it Discord now recognizes OBS as a program and all, and it messes with things, and it just goes back to that thing where you're just like, God, why couldn't you just have stayed how it was? Why'd you update or break this in such a way that makes me especially annoyed? It's like they specifically hate me. So yeah, I know we're carrying over some characters here. The end of the all-cast, review session that we had at the end of this. Oh, God, there's something in my eye now, too. I think I got did I get a food crumb in my eye? Am I gonna die here on stream? I'm so unprofessional, I'm sorry. I'm ranting about Discord, I'm ranting about OBS, and then I'm ranting about not being able to see out of my left eye all of a sudden. Maybe a bug flew into my eye. Microscopic bug. What was I even saying? At the end of Somitsushi, the all-cast review thing, all hands on deck, whatever they call it, I think they basically teased that it was going to be, the next thing was going to be a lot of, police, Tomoe, Manai, and, Ooishi making a big return, and Akasaka, I think, making a big return. I think that's been heavily implied. Also, if we look at these little, icons, straight face, happy face, maybe that means something. This is kind of a happy face, too, now that I look at it a bit deeper. This is more outwardly happy, though. More expressive. We do have to do the police case files first, though. Let's not forget. It'll be the Metropolitan Public Security, as it says here, 7th room case file. Metropolitan. Get me in. Summer 2006. That's enough. Once I finished organizing the material for handoff, I arched my back and stretched my arms out, then felt a light sense of relief. It was an impressive amount of material, just as expected. But even so, it was quite useful. As I gazed at the laptop sitting on my desk, I let out a sigh. Crime scene reports detailing every single case. Various manuals and regulations detailing processing steps. Other public security laws and government ordinances. In the old days, it was necessary to browse through documents and thick files anytime you wanted to investigate something. But now you can see everything right away by performing a few simple operations on a machine the size of a sheet of paper. Not only that, but the time it takes to search through this information has been massively shortened thanks to the database we set up. I'm grateful for that. The files were still lined up in the shelves in front of us, but as a result, they've just been sitting there collecting dust. And the digitization of records wasn't the only thing that changed with the times. My job responsibilities and my surroundings were constantly changing, sometimes very suddenly. Naturally, I struggled to keep up with the flow of change. And now, I'm going to be a school principal? It's hard to see myself that way. In keeping with the recent trend towards structural reform, the Metropolitan Police Department's Public Security Division was given a large-scale reorganization earlier this year. And starting next spring, I'm going to be the principal of the police academy. Nevertheless, I was completely shocked when I received a letter a few days ago notifying me of the change. The number of positions dwindles as you approach the top of the pyramid, so I wasn't planning to stay in the field of public security forever, but I never expected I'd end up in a teaching position. Surely this is a message from the gods. You've been working so hard until now, Dad, so why not rest for a while? Indeed, I smiled bitterly as I thought back on what my daughter told me. I haven't been working as fervently as some of my superiors and colleagues, but she certainly saw it that way. But public safety ordinances prevent me from telling my family the details of the work I do. As a result, my daughter has built up exaggerated expectations based on the stories she's heard from the media. This amazing spectacle, the 7th records room, has just a few months left, and then I'll never see it again. I thought it was such a drab sight when I first took office here, but now I'm sad to see it go. This room is a treasure trove of history, detailing all my conflicts my colleagues and I fought and challenged together. Some were able to overcome adversity and find the truth. However, there were many where we struggled to find clues until the end, and many unresolved incidents that were regrettably interrupted before they could be finished. Sorry, I'm adjusting audio slightly here. And one of them was this one right here. I used the keyboard and mouse to navigate through the authentication system, then opened the case file for one particular incident. It was in June 1983. The document detailed an incident that happened in a remote village in the Chubu region, the Hinamazawa gas disaster. Oh, is that it? That was a quick little... the quickest of prologues. Okay. Well, then get me into it proper. Kind of did a bastardization of my signature. I've got an ugly signature, I can't even lie. Alright, here we go. Kageboushi. Kage Jimbi Belushi. Spinning Shadows. This chapter is the answer. This chapter is the answer arc. Oh, I thought that was just said R and I was confused. Answer arc for Somitsushi. So the answer arc to what we had just read prior. It can be read after completing chapter 5, Miyakashi. Akasaka travels to Kakuichi City to investigate the mysteries of Hinamizawa along with Ooishi and Tomoe. His investigation leads him to Natsumi Kimiyoshi. Alright. Sounds great. Put me in, coach. Wednesday, July 6th, 1983. Kakuichi City. Sometime during the first 2 weeks of July, Ooishi-san and I accompanied a team of local detectives into a residential area. It was in Kakuichi, Kakiuchi, a commuter town adjacent to a larger metropolitan area in the Chubu region. The area featured a flourishing transportation network, including an airport built on the city outskirts. All of this, coupled with the rapidly growing population, has made the town fairly well known. We're here. The car slowed to a standstill. Beside an alley, the driver, Chief Inspector Tomoe Minai, a local police detective, pointed to a house visible through the windshield. It was your typical run-of-the-mill single-family home, the kind you'd be able to find anywhere, so much so that it looked no different than any of the neighboring houses on the same street. However, despite its average appearance, there was something that set it apart. The Do Not Enter tape covering the entryway gave the house an unsettlingly ominous atmosphere.
Akasaka-san.
Akasaka-san.
Eh.
Right. Sitting in the back seat, Ooishi-san and I nodded to each other before exiting the car through our respective doors. The moment I stepped outside, it was as if I'd been engulfed by the sweltering heat. I could feel my skin burning while my body almost instantly began to sweat. The blazing sun and the shrill cry of the cicadas assaulted my senses. Despite arriving before noon, the air was hot and stagnant. I didn't even feel a breeze. Feeling uncomfortable, I held the back of my hand to my forehead to wipe away the sweat. The sunlight reflecting off the asphalt was dazzling, and before I knew it, I felt a wave of dizziness. Sure is hot out here. Really? Today's on the good side, actually. It's the best kind of weather for hitting the road. Man, I missed Ooishi. I missed reading as Ooishi. And I say that with about 55% sarcasm. After saying that, Ooishi-san squared his shoulders and tilted his chin up to admire the sky. He was right. The sky was a deep blue with an area of cloud in sight. On a day as clear and bright as this, you'd surely have a good time no matter where you went. Oh. For a moment, I thought of Miyuki's bright smile. Now that I think about it, it's been about a week since I arrived in this town. I left her in the care of my in-laws due to this job, so I haven't been able to be a good father and look after her in a while.
Miyuki.
Baby Miyuki. Sorry, Miyuki. I just want to say, I would point something out that, not that anything, I don't think anyone had told me this. This is something I gathered. So a long time ago, when I was having to decide the order of these arcs that I was going to read, I'm pretty sure a lot of people end up reading this arc prior to, and I might be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong, if you care to. But I think a lot of people read this arc prior to the one we read. I'd have to look up the name because I don't remember the names so well. Let me look it up here. They read this arc and the Somitsushi arc before Yoigoshi, I'm pretty sure. And that just seems crazy. Because, I mean, maybe it's not the biggest of deals. But that right there where Akasaka's like, oh, my daughter, Miyuki and all that. And we saw her for a flash there. That would somewhat ruin who Miyuki is in that Yoigoshi chapter. Like, obviously we know through most of that chapter that she isn't just who she says she is, right? But, like, the end of that reveal is like, oh, she's the daughter of Akasaka. You know what I mean? So it's just strange. It's strange that apparently a lot of people read this prior to that. But I remember when I was looking up the order to read these, the one I trusted and laid out, like, not plot-wise or spoiler-wise, but there was an argument that was like, oh, you should read this order. And then I ended up going with that order because it was just like, I got to pick some order. Again, this was months ago, so I don't remember the exact reason why I was like, oh, I'll go with this one over this. But I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. Just interesting to look back at. Anyway, while mentally apologizing to my daughter, I took a deep breath.
見ない警部、家の中には入れますか？
Chief Inspector Minai, can we enter the house?
はい。上に許可も取って鍵を預かっていますので。
Yes, I've already asked the higher up, so I brought the key with me.
あ、そうだ。
Oh, one moment. It seemed Chief Inspector Minai remembered something while answering my question. She quickly went back to the car and turned on the police scanner. With the receiver in hand, she sent out a transmission.
こちら一課次長、見ない。
This is the First Division Assistant Director, Minai.
先日の事件現場に到着しましたので、これより現場検証に向かいます。どうぞ。
I've arrived at the crime scene we found the other day. Beginning on-site investigation now. Over. Kakeuchi PS to Assistant Director Minai. Acknowledged. Although the preliminary investigation is complete, please avoid altering the crime scene. Let us know if you require Detective Fujita or someone else's assistance. Over.
そうですね。現時点では必要なし。
Understood. That won't be necessary.
1時間ほどで車に戻りますので、例の件について進展があれば、その時に。
I'll return to the car in about an hour. If there are any other new developments, I'll let you know then.
どうぞ。
Over. Roger. Take all the time you need. Over.
通信終わります。
Over and out. After that brief exchange, Chief Inspector Minai ended the call. Then, as she hung up the receiver, she seemed to quietly grumble, take all the time you need, while shutting the door on the driver's side.
何か?
Is something wrong?
No.
No!
相変わらず豆ですね。
As responsible as ever, eh?
ちゃんと上司さんに伝えてきたんだし、いちいち連絡なんかしなくても大丈夫じゃないですか?
You'd think a superior officer wouldn't need to report in little things like this.
いえ、これも規則ですから。
No, this is standard protocol.
それに、公務で外に出た時は、万一のことがあった時に備えて、活動内容を逐一報告しておくことが刑事の義務です。
Even if it wasn't, public servants have a duty to report our whereabouts and activities in a timely manner in case of emergency. Chief Inspector Minai responded honestly and with a straight face. It was truly an exemplary response, almost as if she had read it straight off of a textbook. She's not wrong, though. Like she said, it's necessary for detectives to keep their coworkers well informed about their present whereabouts and activities in case something comes up. That serves as our starting point during an investigation, allowing us to reveal the culprit. Moreover, disclosing our activities provides evidence in our defense against accusation of corruption or injustice. Still, it seems like overkill to report in on an investigation in a deserted residential area with hardly anyone in sight. The staff back at the station probably had a bitter smile on their faces when they said, take all the time you need. This woman was quite different from Ooishi-san.
いやー、それにしても暑いですね。
Oh my, anyway, it's awfully hot, huh?
ともえちゃんもそのジャケット脱いじゃったらどうですか?
Why don't you take off that jacket, Tomoe-chan?
お気遣いどうも。
I appreciate your concern.
でも私、割と暑いのは平気ですから。
However, I don't mind feeling a little hot. Also, it looks stylish as shit.
本当に?
Oh, really?
本当です。
Absolutely. Sure enough, Chief Inspector Minai had a cool, composed look on her face, whereas the rest of us were wiping the sweat from our brows. It seemed reasonable to think she could handle this.
まあ、天気が良すぎるのも考えものですね。
Well, I wonder if maybe this weather's too good.
喉が渇いて仕方がない。お?
Can't help but feel a little thirsty. Oh?
どうぞ。
Here you go.
これでよければ。
Take this. Chief Inspector Minai suddenly opened a cooler in the trunk and began passing out cans of coffee one by one. Thankful for her concern, we accepted them and opened the pull tabs. I drank it immediately, feeling a comforting chill running down my throat.
いやー、生き返った。
Ah, how refreshing.
ともいちゃん、気が利きますね。
Smoe-chan, you're so thoughtful.
こういう暑い日は自販機を探すのも面倒ですから。
It's difficult to track down a vending machine on such a hot day. Detective Minai responded while collecting our empty cans, then tossed them in the waste bin inside the car. Even so, her expressions felt stiff since departure, and she seemed to be in a bad mood. Did something happen?
何か？
Is something wrong?
ああ、いえ。
Oh, it's nothing.
こんないい天気の日に現場検証ってのは気がめいりますね。
Carrying out an investigation on such a warm day feels a little overwhelming.
そうですね。
Indeed.
こういう天気の時は匂いもきつくなりますので、それも嫌な感じです。
The odor can be suffocating in this sort of weather. It's unpleasant.
服に染みつかなければいいんですが。
I hope I don't stain my clothes.
そんなに匂いますかね。どれどれ。
Odor, you say? Let's see.
Eh?
Huh? Yeah. Oishi-san suddenly moved his face near Chief Inspector Minai's chest, and she jumped in surprise. Why the fuck? Why, Ooishi? Then, as soon as she saw Oishi-san's smug smile, she came to her senses, shaking her fist and shouting towards the sky.
おいさん、
Oh, Oishi-san?
何するんですか？
What do you think you're doing?
いやー、
Oh my.
体臭を気にしてるみたいだからちょいと確かめてあげようかと思いましてね。
You seem concerned about body odor, so I thought I would check for you.
大丈夫ですよ。全然匂ってませんから。
It's alright. You don't smell at all. No.
そんなこと言ってね。
Oh, what did you say?
私の匂いじゃなく、事件現場が匂うって意味で言ってるんじゃねえですが。
I was referring to the smell of the crime scene, not myself. Chief Inspector Minai shot Oishi-san an offended glare, while he let out his usual bombastic laugh that shook his oversized stomach. Oishi-san's words and actions can be rather shocking and appalling, huh? Huh? Come to think of it, that accent Chief Inspector Minai spoke in earlier, I'm certain it was... As soon as Chief Inspector Minai's eyes met mine, her face began to blush and she cleared her throat. Attempting to stay cool, I quickly asked her a question.
見ない警部。出身は茨城ですか？
Chief Inspector Minai, are you from Ibaraki?
え？
Huh?
東京です。
I'm from Tokyo.
でも祖母と母が水戸でしたから、その。
But my mother and grandmother came from Mito, so... Chief Inspector Minai spoke in a hushed tone, clearly embarrassed, but she looked slightly perturbed, tilting her head as she looked at me.
赤坂警視。
Inspector Akasaka... I don't know why Inspector Akasaka.
どうして私の出身が茨城だと？
Why would you ask if I'm from Ibaraki?
いや、実は親戚が日本に住んでいましたので。
Actually, I have relatives who lived in Miho.
すみません。ちょっと懐かしくて。
Sorry, maybe I was just being a little nostalgic.
あ、そうでしたか。
Ah, is that so?
私、いえ、自分は去年まで勤務が茨城だったので、祖母の口調が移っちゃって、その。
I was working in Ibaraki until last year. Maybe my grandmother's accent came with me?
まあ普段はうまく隠してるんですけどね。
Well, you usually hide it really well.
ちょっといじってあげるだけですぐにこの通り。
There's just a little bit that gave it away.
な
No.
大石さん、殴っていいですか？
Do I need to smack you, Oishi-san? The veins in Chief Inspector Minai's temple throbbed as Oishi-san said, "Oh, how scary." The relationship seems to have been turned upside down. That reminds me, Oishi-san told me about her father the other day. Chief Inspector Minai didn't just move from Tokyo to Ibaraki due to family circumstances. She had a deeper, more depressing reason for moving. And she had no choice.
本当は決して笑い話じゃなかった。
Really, it's not a pleasant story at all. In an effort to change the subject, I stepped between Chief Inspector Manai and Ooishi-san and asked a question.
つまり夏場の殺しの事件現場は現場検証が厄介になるってことですか？
So you're saying it's difficult to carry out an on-site investigation at a murder scene during the summer? Investigations at a murder scene during the summer?
確かに冬場と比べても暑さともろもろで気分が悪くなりますし。
Indeed,
そういうことですよね。
Indeed, compared to winter, the heat can take a heavy toll on you. I'm having trouble reading today, aren't I? What was it that you were getting at?
あ、はい、そうです。
Huh? Oh, yes, that's right.
おかげでこの前の事件直後は部下の捜査員たちが近場の路地でゲーゲー吐いちゃって後始末が大変でした。
In my last incident, some of my subordinates were vomiting in the alleyway. Cleaning it up is a major ordeal.
ああ、それ聞きましたよ。
Oh, I heard about that.
翌日3人も体調不良でお休みになったって。
3 officers had to take sick leave the following day.
ともいちゃんはよく平気でしたね。
Were you feeling sick too, Tomoe-chan?
私も決して気分が良かったわけじゃありません。
I was hardly feeling well myself.
だけど管理職が仕事を放り出して休むなんて部下に示しがつきませんから。
However, it's important for managers to serve as an example for subordinates rather than taking a day off.
食欲はさすがにありませんでしたけどね。
But I struggled to eat that day, though. For a food lover such as herself to say that means it must have been quite unpleasant.
わかりますよ。
I know what you mean.
私も若い頃は現場検証の後料理の何を見てもいろんな想像をしてしまって数日間何も口にできませんでしたね。
When I was young, I couldn't look at a meal without imagining all sorts of terrible things after carrying out an on-site investigation. I ended up going several days unable to eat.
自己管理がなっていないと上司によく叱られたものです。
My boss often scolded me for being unable to take care of myself.
そ
Huh?
んなケースこそ想像できませんよ。
I can imagine an inspector doing that. After saying that, Chief Inspector Manai laughed while holding a hand to her mouth. Of course, her reaction seemed somewhat weak, as if she was distracted and focused on some other thought was running through her head. Was there some concern that she wasn't willing to share with us?
あ、すみません警視。
Oh, sorry, Inspector.
つい調子に乗って失礼な物言いを。
That just slipped out. It was rude of me to say.
いや別に気にしないでください。
No, please don't worry about it.
むしろ私はあまり肩肘を張って話される方が苦手でしてね。
I'm not very good at speaking and acting tough myself.
同じ桜の大門を背負う仲間として普通に接していただけたら嬉しいです。
I'd be happy if you could just handle me the same way as anyone else, as comrades in arms.
そうですか？
Is that so?
そうですよ、ともいちゃん。
Of course, Tomoe-chan.
赤坂さんには私と同じように心も体も許す感じで接してくれたらいいんですからね。
Just like Akasuka-san, I also hope that I can get in touch with you in mind and body.
あんたにその両方とも許した覚えは断じてない。
Both of those are off limits with you.
な
No. Oishi-san, hope you don't make fun of her too much.
あ、犯罪者を追って完全懲悪の範を示すことに違いはないってことですよ。
Well, I think we're equally passionate when it comes to pursuing criminals.
ですから捜査のためにご協力をお願いします。
So, I appreciate your cooperation on this investigation.
はい。
Oh, right.
こちらこそよろしくご指導お願いします。
It's nice to work with you too. Thank you for your support.
自分は公安の方とご一緒に仕事をするのが初めてなので、いろいろご迷惑をおかけするかもしれませんが。
This is my first time working with a public safety official, so I'm sure we'll run into some minor hang-ups.
勉強不足で申し訳ありません、警視。
Sorry for not being more prepared, Inspector.
いやいや、そんなことはありませんよ。
Oh, no, it's not like that at all.
私は所轄の方々に比べればこういう凶悪事件の現場経験は大したことはありませんので。
Compared to other people in my department, I have very little experience in violent cases.
若輩者で勉強不足なのは警部よりもむしろ私の方ですよ。
If anything, you're more of an expert in these matters than me.
そんなご謙遜を。
Oh, no, you're just being modest.
自分は学も知識も浅い上、偉そうに言えるほど現場を知っているわけではありませんので、警視にそう言われると面はゆい限りです。
It's embarrassing to hear that from you when I'm lacking knowledge and experience.
たくさん経験したところで慣れるものではありませんし、偉いというわけでもありませんよ。
Even with a lot of experience, it's hard to get used to it, nor is it all that admirable.
ものになるのかならないのかは本人の資質というやつですからね。
Whether you succeed or fail depends on your innate qualities.
恐縮です。
I'm honored. Even so, I'd expect no less from the woman who's selected as the future executive by the Metropolitan Police. Chief Inspector Manai was the kind of person who would go onto any crime scene if they asked her to. Even if her subordinates turned away feeling sick, she would rush in searching for clues. On top of that, she speaks frankly and has a humble personality. Get the feeling she is a little too serious, though, but I understand why Ooishi-san thinks so highly of her.
とりあえずまだ昼前で本格的には暑くなっていませんから、
The heat right now is more bearable than it will be later in the day.
なるべく早めに済ませましょう。
Let's get this done as soon as possible.
そうですね。
I agree.
それじゃ行きましょうか。
Well then, shall we go? Let's get this started. Then we all turned to face that single-family home. A barrier of yellow tape was stretched all around the outer wall. The house itself looked peaceful in comparison, masking the fact that it was actually the scene of a crime. The family of four had been living happily in this house. A father in the prime of his career, and a working mother, and two lovely kids. It was a typical family, like you'd find anywhere. That's why I still can't believe the tragedy that happened in this house a few days ago. Something felt off on one corner of the house, and I turned to face it. Before my eyes, I saw countless pieces of paper attached to the wall, talismans with strange writing on them. Looking closely, I could see eerie curse-like words written lightly in red ink. I reached out to touch one of them, but a sudden breeze struck one of them and fell to the ground. At the same time, I noticed the name Hatakeyama engraved into the nameplate that was hidden behind the talisman until a moment ago.
畠山。
Hatakeyama?
ひなみ沢の御三家と違って、ただ出身がひなみ沢というだけの普通の家族です。
畠山。
Okay, that was all. Alright, unlike the three families from Hinamizawa, this was just an ordinary family who happened to be in from Hinamizawa.
それに例の事件の直後でしたから接触を控えていたのですが。
I was waiting to make contact since that other case happened so recently.
すみません。裏目に出ました。
I'm sorry, that seems to have backfired. After saying that, Chief Inspector Manai hung her head, then the rest of us did the same. There was no denying that we made a flawed assumption. The family here was involved in that other tragedy, so we assumed that another incident couldn't happen to the same family. Huh? Just then, out of nowhere, I heard the sound of ringing bells. I stopped without thinking and looked around. There it was again. A peculiar sound that didn't belong. It sounded vaguely similar to a cat's bell, but clearly different. As if it sounded like someone's footsteps.
おや
Oh?
どうかしましたか
Did something happen?
いえ、
Oh, it's nothing.
大石さん。何か音が聞こえませんか？
Ooishi-san, did you hear anything just now?
音ですか
Hear a sound? In response to my inquiry, Ooishi-san cautiously surveyed his surroundings. However, couldn't see anything suspicious, so he turned back to me and shook his head.
何も聞こえませんが
I didn't hear anything.
ともいちゃんはどうです
What about you, Tomoe-chan?
私も特には。
Same here. I didn't hear anything in particular.
どんな音でしたか？
What kind of sound was it?
いや、
It was nothing.
すみません。気のせいかもしれません。
Sorry, I guess my mind is playing tricks on me. I must have misheard. I'm a little tired. In order to escape from their gaze, I turned behind me and looked toward the small field outside. I could see some vegetables planted nearby, but they all looked withered. Were they dead? Couldn't sense any life from them. And with all the houses lined up nearby, the presence of a small field like this was rather strange.
あの畑、税金対策ですよ。
Look how fucking smug Ooishi looks. Alright, we're taking a group photo. Everyone look cool. Strike a good pose. And Oishi's like, oh yeah. That small farm is a tax measure.
農地だと不動産にかかる税金が安くて済みますからね。
It's there because the property tax on farmland is cheaper. Did she notice my strange expression? Chief Inspector Manai stepped beside me as she said that.
税金対策
Tax measures.
ええ、
Right.
この辺りは地価が数年前と比べて格段に高騰しているんです。
Land prices in this area have skyrocketed in the past few years.
それに加えて再来年には地下鉄の駅がこの近くに開通しますので完全な売り手市場。
On top of that, they're opening a subway station nearby next year. So it's a complete seller's market.
だからあの土地の持ち主はそれまで農地として節税しているんだって聞きました。
So, I heard that landowners are saving money by having it taxed as agricultural land until then.
あの野菜はどうするんでしょう
Then what do they do with the vegetables?
近所の人の話だと好き勝手に取り放題だそうです。
According to the neighbors, you can take all you like without needing to ask.
それでも余った分は秋頃になったら全て焼き捨てているみたいですね。
Even so, it looks like they'll all wither away by autumn. Such a lonely story. The land was no longer able to serve its original function, only existed to generate wealth. This must be another consequence of the recent economic boom.
それにしても嫌に静かですね。
Even so, it's awfully quiet, isn't it?
まるで廃墟の町ですよ。
Like a ghost town.
ここは新興のベッドタウンですから昼間は人が少なくなります。
This is a commuter town, so there are very few people during the daytime.
商店街もちょっと離れていますからね。
The market district is also pretty far from here.
とはいえ普段なら主婦の方々が道端とか近くの公園とかで話し込んだりしているのですが。
But like usual, you have housewives chatting at the roadside or in the nearby parks.
さすがに今はか。
Like usual, huh? Chief Inspector Manai silently nodded to Oishi-san's mutterings. Indeed, not a lot of time had passed since the incident occurred. Given the circumstances, it was hard to believe that people could be engaging in feckless, idle gossip.
それにしても都会の建物はやはりおしゃれな作りをしていますね。
Anyway, these urban houses are awfully fancy, aren't they?
赤坂さんのお宅もこんな感じですか？
Is your house like this too, Akasuka-san? No.
いえ私の住まいはもっと都心寄りの古くからの住宅街ですから。
No, my house is closer to downtown and it's an old residential district.
こんなに小綺麗な建物はないですよ。
There aren't any buildings this trim and tidy. But even though it was a beautiful cityscape, I didn't envy it at all. Everything was sun-baked and cracked, felt inorganic, colorless, and tasteless.
自分はこういう街にはあまり住みたくないですね。
I'm not all that interested in living in a city like this.
誰かと一緒に暮らすならもっと。
If I were to live with someone else, it'd be more...
失言でした。忘れてください。
A slip of the tongue. Forget I said anything. Chief Inspector Manai blushed and then cleared her throat. After seeing her smile, Oishi-san sucked down on the end of a cigarette, then crushed it under his shoe as he looked back toward me and spoke.
さて、それじゃあ行きましょう。
Well, I suppose we should get going.
ともいちゃん、お願いできますか？
Tomo-chan, would you please?
さっきから気になってたんですけど。
It's been bothering me for a little while now.
いい加減私のことはちゃんと見ないって上の名字で呼んでくれませんか？
Could you address me properly by the name Manai, please?
気に入りませんか？
Hmm? You don't like it?
好き嫌いの話じゃないです。
It's not about likes and dislikes.
子供じゃあるまいし、公務の時くらいはきっちり節度を守ってください。
I'm not a child, so please treat me with respect when we're on official business.
周りに示しがつかないでしょうが。
You're setting a bad example for the people around us.
でもそれだと今度は妹さんと区別がつかなくなっちゃうじゃないですか？
But if I did that, wouldn't it be hard to distinguish between you and your sister? No.
つきます。
It wouldn't.
双子じゃないし、顔だって似てないでしょうが。
We're not twins. We look completely different.
だいたい同じ見ないでも、あっちは巡査で私は警部なんだから、そんなに区別って言うならちゃんと見ない警部って呼んでください。
Besides, she's a policewoman while I'm a chief inspector, so if the name Manai isn't enough to distinguish us, then you can use my proper title, Chief Inspector Manai, when referring to me.
しかしですね、私は親しい人には肩書きなしでフレンドリーに呼びかけるのがポリシーなんですよ。
But it's my policy to refer to my close friends without a title.
ねえ、赤坂さん。
Right, Akasuka-san? I vaguely laughed, trying to evade answering. It'd be nice if Ooishi-san called me Inspector Akasuka once in a while.
というわけなので、少し多めに見てくださいな、ともいちゃん。
So that's my reason. Hope you'll understand, Tomoe-chan.
もういいです。
Enough.
さっさと入ってください。
Just hurry up and get moving. Not wanting to waste any more time on the matter, Chief Inspector Manai lowered her shoulder and lifted the tape to slip underneath. She gave Ooishi-san and I a nod after passing through, so we slipped under and stepped in front of the house. By all rights, entering a crime scene in a region outside my jurisdiction is a major overreach of authority. However, I was able to get special permission to enter this house today thanks to my title as a public security official, and also because this woman was an acquaintance of Ooishi-san, actually the older sister of his acquaintance.
すみませんね、警部。
I'm sorry, Chief Inspector.
大石さんも悪気があるわけじゃないんです。むしろ
Ooishi-san means well, it's just that...
分かっています。
I know.
別に自分は怒っていませんので。
I'm not all that upset. After saying that, Chief Inspector Manai steps beyond the tape, devoid of the emotional atmosphere that was present a moment ago, and I followed behind her. Despite what she said, I could feel the anger permeating through her back, and it made me restless. I'll have to keep an eye on Ooishi-san in the future. Rustle. I felt something near my feet, so I took a quick glance. I had stepped on another sheet of paper. The black, dirty, poisonous color gave an unpleasant impression. What is this?
どうしました、警視？
What is it, Inspector?
あ、いや。
Ah, it's nothing. Chief Inspector Manai looked back. She must have noticed my abrupt stop. The moment I turned to respond, that bizarre sound echoed in my ears again. For a moment, I completely forgot about the summer heat as a frightening chill ran down my back and coursed through my entire body. Was that really just a hallucination? Or maybe I'm possessed by the Oyashiro-sama that all the villagers in Hinamazawa are so afraid of.
まさかな。
No way. I shook my head with a bitter smile to dispel my concerns about these delusions. Then I began stepping forward again until I caught up with Ooishi-san. First, we put on the investigation gloves that Chief Inspector Manai handed to us. Then, I followed behind Ooishi-san as he opened the door and stepped into the entrance. It was incredibly quiet inside the house, and a distinct odor reached my nose. The odor reminded me of rusty nails, and it grew stronger as I stepped forward. I quickly slid the filthy door open. In that room, I saw a little sea of blood. Ooh.
この部屋が犯行現場ですか？
Is this the crime scene?
ええ。
Yes.
実際に自分の目で見ると悲惨さが一層伝わってきますね。
It's far more depressing seeing it with your own eyes. Traces of the incident were marked by the investigators. Destroyed furniture, scratch marks in the tatami mat, all of which told the horrors of this tragedy. And most importantly, dark red stains spread across the tatami mats highlighted the places where the corpses of the inhabitants were found. After seeing the incident itself, the markings made by the forensics team seemed meaningless. This is the image of hell itself. For a while, the three of us could only stand silently beside the crime scene. Intending to clear my mind, I turned my attention to the report that Chief Inspector Manai gave me. The victims were the homeowners, Masayo Harakiyama and his wife, Yoshiko. According to the initial investigation team, Masayo shot himself in the head from close range with a hunting rifle and died instantly. And the direct cause of death for Yoshiko was blood loss from a close-range gunshot to her chest. Although she didn't die instantly, the hospital eventually confirmed her death due to the excessive bleeding. And the two children were...
ひどいものです。
It's terrible. Chief Inspector Manai grimaced as she muttered those words, attempting to dispel the heavy atmosphere. Those words perfectly characterized our impressions. 3 years ago, Masao's work transferred him to this location, which caused the 4 members of the Hatakeyama family to move here from Hinamazawa. It's horrific for an attack like this to happen in such an ordinary household. The suspect, Masayo Hatakeyama, went on a rampage in the middle of the night, making a strange sound, swinging his hunting rifle, and firing. First, he went for those closest to him who didn't have time to defend themselves from his sudden actions. Next was Yoshiko, who was frozen in terror from the unexpected nightmare. Footprints were gradually left around the house, or around the room, while the culprit walked through the red floor. Though his whole body was bathed in blood, I wonder if he continued seeking bloodshed.
鑑識の話では、県警全域の記録でもこれだけの事件は近年稀だそうです。
Even after reviewing prefectural police records, the forensics teams claim that incidents like this are rare in recent years.
しかも、被疑者は捜査員が突入する前に自殺。
And furthermore, the suspect committed suicide before investigators could arrive.
おかげで原因も詳細も一切が不明のまま。
Thanks to that, the motive and so many details are left unknown.
お子さん2人のうち1人は銃撃を逃れて病院に運び込まれたと聞きましたが。
But I heard that one of the two children escaped the shooting and was taken to a nearby hospital.
ええ、病院からの連絡では峠を越して今朝意識を回復したそうです。
Yes, hospital reported that the patient recovered and regained consciousness this morning.
ただ、家族が全員死んでたった一人だけ生き残って、彼女は今後どうするのか。
She was the only survivor, so I wonder what will become of her from here on. After saying that, Chief Inspector Manai bit her lip with a crestfallen look on her face. Should we be pleased with the fortune that someone survived, or should we mourn the misfortune that they could not die together? Unrelated parties like us have no right to answer. This incident feels like... That's right, like some sort of religious ceremony, perhaps. Or a ritual to cleanse impurities. It was a gruesome possibility, just as the name Blood Offering implied. Suddenly, the strange talismans I saw by the front door came to mind. If this was a ceremony, then where were all the human sacrifices? I shook my head and looked upward to escape my terrible thoughts, and where I turned to look, I saw a shrine seated on a shelf that seemed to be looking down at me.
これは
What is this?
そうですね。
Right, that.
祀られているのはお社様ですな。
That's a shrine for Oyoshiro-sama. Sensing my intention, Oishi-san looked me in the eyes and nodded.
近所の人の証言だと、何でも祖父のカズマは熱心な信奉者だったとか。
According to the testimony of a neighbor, grandfather of the household, Kazuma was a devout follower.
悪さをした近所の子供たちに注意するときにも、必ずその名前が出ていたようです。
Even when simply scolding children in the neighborhood for misbehaving, the name always seemed to come up.
お社様の罰が当たるか。
The wrath of Oyoshiro-sama, huh?
私も最初はよくあるお年寄りの例え話だと思っていました。
At first, I disregarded it as a sort of fable you'd hear from the elderly.
でも、例の事件と翌日に起こったこの事件を知ってからは。
However, after learning about the incident and the other one that followed the next day,
あ、すみません。
I'm sorry.
こちらも事前に危うい情報をつかんでおきながら、結局。
We had advanced warning signs of the danger, but in the end, Chief Inspector and I bit down on her nails to ease her regret. In an effort to console her, Oishi-san shrugged his shoulders, then lightly patted her on the shoulder.
お気遣いなく。
No. Don't worry about it.
これでまだ終わったわけじゃないんですから。
After all, this isn't over yet.
ね、赤坂さん。
Isn't that right, Kasuga-san? Oishi-san slowly turned to face me while saying that. I slowly nodded in agreement.
畠山一馬は確か無役の一般村民という話でしたよね。
Kazuma Hatakeyama was an ordinary villager, wasn't he?
ええ。
Right.
ひなみ沢の御三家、特に園崎家と比べれば大した仕事をやっていたわけじゃありません。
Unlike the three families of Inamizawa, and especially compared to the Sonozakis, this family was insignificant.
それでもよく調べてみましたら、数年前に体調を崩すまで年寄り連中の末席で議事に加わっていたみたいですよ。
Nevertheless, if you look closely, you'll learn he was involved with the other elderly people in proceedings until he became physically incapable a few years ago.
であれば、その信心の強さもうなずけますね。
So, in that case, it corroborates the strength of his religious faith. I vividly recalled my memories of 5 years ago. A remote village deep within the mountains, Hinamizawa. I visited the village once while investigating a kidnapping incident on behalf of Tokyo. Unfortunately, the curtain was closed midway, so the truth of that incident remains a mystery. However, the state of the village and the villagers' fervent fear of Ooishi-sama's curse were engraved into my heart. They say Ooishi-sama is not like a god or Buddha who extends a hand of salvation, but a wrathful demon. Their faith in Ooishi-sama bred in their isolated space, and it dominated their behavior for years without fading. And it weighed heavily on the hearts of those who left the village, leaving deep scars. Making our way out of the living room, we headed for the next room over. This room belonged to the victim from the other day, Kazuma Hatakeyama. And it was adorned with a shrine just like the one from the living room. No, it was even larger.
ここにもあるんですね。
There's one in here too, huh? A large amount of red blood was spread across the tatami mats, along with traces of the forensic team's investigation. This was where the suspect, Masayo, stuffed the muzzle of the rifle down his throat and pulled the trigger. The shot came from close range, so the corpse was in terrible condition. Whoops. Putting it into words is making me feel dizzy.
ところで、巴警部
By the way, Chief Inspector Tomoe,
次に行ったら本気で蹴っ飛ばしますよ。
next time you call me that, I'm seriously going to kick you, alright?
冗談ですよ。
No, it was only a joke.
彼女は尋問できそうなんですか
So, do you think they'll be able to question the girl?
ええ、まあ。
Yes, I suppose so. Chief Inspector Manai nodded vaguely in response to Oishi-san's question. By girl, he meant the eldest child, the survivor of this incident, Aoi Hatakeyama. Aoi? Aoi. She received a minor injury on her head at the time of the incident, when the suspect struck her with a blunt object.
まだ若いので回復も早そうです。
Since she's still young, she should be able to recover quickly.
体力が回復した段階で医師立ち会いの下で事情聴取を予定しています。
Once her physical condition is improved, we plan to listen to her testimony under doctor's supervision.
の割に言い方がらしくありませんね。
Yet your tone doesn't seem to reflect that.
何か問題でも
Is there a problem?
いえ、まだ何とも。
No, nothing yet.
家庭の域を出ませんので。
It's still just a possibility for now. After that evasive answer, Chief Inspector Manai bent down to her knees, on her knees, to examine the sliding door more closely.
現在、彼女は警察病院内の特別病棟で主治医をつけて治療中です。
She's in a special ward of the police hospital at the moment, receiving treatment from the head physician.
数日中には連絡がもらえるものと思います。
I think we'll be able to speak with her in a few days.
とはいえ、体は無事でも心はそういかないでしょう。
Even though her physical condition is improving, that doesn't necessarily help her mental state.
そちらの具合は大丈夫なのですか？
How's she doing in that regard?
わかりません。
I don't know.
弟が殺害されたところを見ていたかもしれませんし、
She may have witnessed her younger brother's murder.
ただ事件の詳細を知っているのは彼女一人なので、慎重を期した上で深い内容を聴取したいと思っています。
However, since she's the only person who knows the details of this incident, I want to be especially cautious and give her careful consideration.
深い内容
Careful consideration? Oishi-san held his finger to his temple in thought, then turned around and addressed Chief Inspector Manai.
ともいちゃん
Moe-chan,
勝手ばかりで申し訳ありませんが、その事情聴取よろしければ我々も参加させていただけませんか？
I hate to keep being selfish, but would you allow us to join when you listen to her story?
その子の話が何か参考になるかもしれませんので。
A girl's testimony could be tremendously helpful.
それは構いません。
Not a problem.
ただあまり突っ込んだ内容は控えてください。
But please refrain from pressuring her for details.
ただでさえ今回の事件はデリケートな部分が多いものですから。
After all, this case has a lot of delicate parts.
分かっておりますって。
Right, I understand that.
ともえちゃん、私のことを何だと思ってるんです？
Moe-chan, do you really think that way of me?
これでも警官の端くれなんですよ。
That I'm some loose cannon of a cop?
そうでしたね。
Indeed.
いい勉強になりましたよ。いろいろな意味で。
Nice work picking up on the subtext there.
な
No!
そう言ってもらえるとありがたいな。
I appreciate your willingness to speak so directly.
ねえ赤坂さん
Right, Akasuka-san?
はあ
Huh. Then Chief Inspector Minai glared at Ooishi-san with her eyes open wide before turning to me. Does she think I'm in the same league? Please cut me a break. This incident began last month in Hinamazawa. In the end of June 1983, near Shishibone City, Hinamazawa Village, volcanic gas suddenly erupted in the middle of the night and enveloped the entire village. As a result of that unprecedented disaster, the entire village was wiped out. An emergency declaration was issued before the cause was fully understood, so all personnel have been strictly prohibited from entering Hinamazawa Village, turning it into an isolated island of unreachable land. The shocking news quickly spread across all of Japan, and people began wildly speculating. Within a day, the tragedy had made it to the mass media. Nowadays, the news is more like an entertainment product, with heavily sensationalized content that seems far from the truth. And as time goes on, I wonder if the nature of this tragedy will be lost entirely. The people following the incident for their own amusement will quickly find another subject to pursue on a whim, and gradually forget about it. That's the way of this world. Nevertheless, there are so many unknown elements of this unprecedented disaster, and Oishiro-sama's curse is the backbone of it all. In order to investigate this incident, Ooishi-san and I have been searching for people from Hinamazawa and questioning them about their circumstances and what they know about the curse. However, surveying the former villagers turned out to be extremely difficult. Even when an opportunity arose, some misfortune would inevitably befall the families we were speaking to, causing our leads to dry up. And this time it culminated in the Hatakeyama family murder case. If news of this incident reaches the public, it will become even harder to get information about this curse from the Hinamazawa natives. And their silence only added more credibility to the concept of Oishiro-sama's curse. After finishing our examination in the Japanese-style room, we returned to the living room.
窓開けますか
Can we open a window in here? Oishi-san wiped the sweat from his forehead and went to open the window next to the kitchen. A refreshing breeze blew in. Although it managed to cast off the lingering heat that had covered the entire house, it did nothing to shake off the lingering stench of the tragedy in this room. Right, source of that foul air was a deep-seated grudge. It's not an easy thing to wash away. Haunted by those thoughts, I decided to breathe a little of the outside air, so I leaned out the window and inhaled a deep breath. After breathing that fresh air, the gears of my mind began to turn again. For the time being, I ought to take some pictures of the crime scene so that I'll be able to verify the circumstances later.
ちょっとカメラを撮ってきます。
I'd like to run and grab the camera.
見ない警部。車のキーを貸していただけますか。
Could you lend me the car keys, Chief Inspector Minai?
はい。
Of course.
何か写真でしたら私のをお貸ししますが。
If you're looking to just take pictures, you could borrow mine if you'd like.
いえ、せっかく持ってきましたから、自分用の資料も用意しておきたいので。
No thanks. I brought the camera all the way here, so I'd like to prepare my own materials.
わかりました。どうぞ。
Understood. Go right ahead. After taking the key from her, I proceeded out of the room. The moment I turned the knob of the front door, a familiar sensation reverberated through my body. The gentle warmth of the humid air ran down my back. I opened the door and swallowed as I stepped outside. As if the sounds earlier had only been an illusion, cicadas all began to cry out at once. Having suddenly been reacquainted with reality, I stopped in my tracks for a moment. Although the only thing separating us was a single door, I couldn't hear the cry of the cicadas at all until a moment ago. When I suddenly looked up at the Hatakeyama house, it seemed like it was enshrouded in an ominous, melancholic atmosphere. Though I took pride in being a realist, the word hell ran through my mind. Slam. I looked back to see the door had violently slammed shut, perhaps due to the wind. I licked my chapped lips as a feeling of dread began to emerge inside of me. Intending to shake off my unease, I rushed to the police car and opened the door to the back seat. When I turned my head, I suddenly noticed that the lights on the radio was flashing. I hesitated for a moment, but for the time being, I decided to pick up the receiver and answer.
はい。こちら11号車。
Hello? This is car number 11. Ah, is that Akasuka-san? Thank you so much for helping out. This is Madoka. I heard a cheerful female voice coming in through the radio. She said her name was Madoka, so this must be Officer Madoka Minai, a female police officer in the Transportation Division, and the younger sister of Chief Inspector Minai, who was helping us investigate this house today. Oishi-san said that she was an acquaintance from long ago, and the circumstances were not very amusing.
あ、どうも。
Thank you.
何かありましたか？
Did you have something to report?
お姉ちゃん、見ない警部はいますか？
Is this... I mean, is Chief Inspector Manai there?
花田刑事から至急連絡を取りたいとことづけを頼まれたんですけど。
Detective Hanada asked me to speak with her, and he said it was urgent.
至急？
Urgent?
何か起きたのですか？
Did something happen?
詳細は不明ですが、至急とのことです。
I don't know the details, but he insisted it was urgent.
わかりました。伝えます。
Understood. I'll let her know.
よろしくです。
It's nice to meet you.
それでは。
Well, alright then. After closing communications, I returned to the Takayama house and let Chief Inspector Manai know.
花田くんが私に
Hanada-kun asked for me?
何でしょ
What could he want?
さあ、そこまでは。
Well, not sure.
それにしてもなんで花田さんじゃなくてまどかちゃんが連絡を？
For that matter, why did Hanada-san ask through Madoka-chan?
う？多分用心のためでしょう。
Maybe it was a precaution.
大石さんたちの捜査に協力していることは署のお偉方にも秘密にしていますから。
Because I've kept the fact that I'm cooperating with you on this investigation a secret from the higher-ups at the station.
いやそうじゃなくて、
No, that's not it.
なんで花田さんが直接連絡してこないのかなと。
Why wouldn't Hanada-san just contact you directly?
それは
Well... After saying that, Chief Inspector Manai shrugged her shoulders and began to explain it with a hint of a sigh in her voice.
今朝ここに出てくるときにミスった部下を怒りすぎてしまいまして、それでみんな怖がっているのだと。
This morning I got a little carried away criticizing my subordinates for mistakes, so everyone is a little scared now.
失礼な話です。
It was uncalled for.
笑い事ではありません。
This is no laughing matter. Chief Inspector Manai couldn't help but give us a dirty glare after we suddenly burst out laughing. It certainly can be unnerving having a conversation on the radio where you can't see the other party face to face. And this woman had a particularly imposing presence. A less gutsy person would naturally avoid it whenever possible.
そもそもうちの署は情けない男が多すぎる。
There are too many pathetic men at my station.
それもこれもトップの署長があんなだからいけないんです。
And it doesn't help that the chief on top is like that, so there's nothing I can do about it.
まあまあそう言わずに、
No, don't say that.
昔はよらば切るなんて感じの名うての刑事さんだったんですよ。
In the past, he was well renowned as a ruthless detective.
とても信じられません。
I find that hard to believe.
大体
Besides,
それに
also,
もうすぐともえちゃんの弟になるお方じゃありませんか。
it won't be long until he becomes your brother, right? No. After Oishi-san spoke the words she least wanted to hear, Chief Inspector Manai reeled back with a look of disgust on her face. In reality, her younger sister Madoka-san was currently engaged to Chief Yamaoki, the man in charge of Kakuichi Station. I too was shocked to learn of that. Chief Yamaoki is an elderly man, old enough to be an experienced father, and Madoka-san is a cute young lady who could easily pass as a student. When they stand side by side, they don't look like lovers, more like a parent and child.
でも所長さん、真剣な交際だって聞きましたよ。
But I heard that she and the chief are in a serious relationship.
何でも近いうちにご両親に彼女を紹介するって言ってましたし、
Any-
その時にはともえちゃんも
Anytime soon, he'll be introducing her to his parents. By then, Tomoe-chan will...
冗談じゃありません。
This is no joke.
あんなおっさんにお姉さんと呼ばれるくらいなら私は今すぐに出家して一生属世間から離れて暮らします。
Sorry, just getting one there. If such an old man is going to call me sister-in-law, I might as well run away from home immediately and live the rest of my life in seclusion.
大体まどかもまどかだ。
Really, Madoka just has to be
もと
Madoka.
もと年上受けが良くて学校の先輩はおろか先生にまで告白されてましたが、まさか結婚相手までそっち系で行くなんて一体何考えてるんだ。
This is like the defining trait of this character. She gets easily flustered when we bring up the fact that her sister is in some potentially sketchy relationship with a much older man. How scandalous. She's always had a thing for older men, to the point she was confessing to upperclassmen and even teachers in school, but never thought it'd carry over to her choice of fiance. What on earth is she thinking?
いや、私に言われましても。
No, I wouldn't know anything about that.
しかも
And furthermore,
その相手が私の上司だなんて。
the person she chose just happens to be my boss.
これって何かの嫌がらせ？
Is this some kind of harassment?
それとも仕返し？
Or retaliation?
因果応報で自業自得？
Divine retribution?
っていうか、それを言うなら私が一体何をした？
Even if that's the case, what do I do to deserve it?
まあまあ。
Now.
そもそも姉の私が未だに独り身だってのに、クソ忙しい中くだらない報告ばっかりしてきやがって。
And to begin with, I'm the older sister and still single. Yet she just has to keep telling me about her relationship with him while I'm so damn busy with work.
この前なんかこっちが朝方まで残業してた直後にご機嫌で「昨日はカオルさんとデートでフランス料理のフルコースだったよ」って。
She cheerfully came in singing to me, I had a full course French meal on a date with Kuro-san yesterday, after I just finished working overtime until the morning.
ああ、そうですか、よかったわね。
Oh, is that so? How wonderful!
どうせ私の夜食はコンビニの粉っぽいカレーよ。
At any rate, my late night dinner was powdered curry from the convenience store.
さらにこの前なんかねえ、あの駅前のホテルから見える景色って最高よねって。
And before that, hey, the view from our hotel in front of the station was so amazing.
ああ、そうですか、よかったわね。
Oh, is that so? How
こっちはブ
wonderful!
ラインド越しに汚いビルだけが見える最悪の景色よ。
My view was terrible. I could only see the buildings that weren't covered by the blinds.
まだあった。
And still,
私が仮眠室に向かう途中で会った時なんか、ロイヤルスイートって素敵よね。ベッドがふかふかで気持ちいいのよってあと。
when we met on my way onto the nap room, this royal suite is awesome and the beds are so soft and comfortable. Huh?
ああ、そうですか、よかったわね。
Oh, is that so? How wonderful!
こっちはカビ臭い毛布を羽織ってせんべい布団に潜り込んで1時間の小休止よ。
I only get 1 hour naps tossing and turning on a paper-thin futon covered in a moldy-smelling blanket.
落ち着いてください、見ない警部。
Please, calm down, Chief Inspector Minai. Must be a really sore point for her. Chief Inspector Minai has completely lost her cool and gone into a screaming rampage. It's like there's a childlike recklessness hiding behind her serious demeanor. She's certainly a fun one to tease, though I doubt she'd be happy to hear that, and I do feel a little sorry for her.
とりあえず見ない警部。
Anyway, Chief Inspector Minai,
連絡を取っていただけますか。
would you mind contacting them?
お見苦しいところを失礼しました。
I apologize for that embarrassing display. Once I determined she'd calmed down enough, I reminded her of the message. Still breathing heavily, the Chief Inspector cleared her throat to hide the redness in her face, then looked up to say, Roger.
それじゃあ連絡してきます。
Well then, I'll go make contact.
電話ボックスってこの辺にあったかな。
I wonder if there's a phone booth around here.
先ほど通り過ぎたテニスコートの脇にあったと思いますが。
I passed one earlier. I think it was by the tennis court.
なんでしたら畠山家の電話をお借りしては。
Why don't you just use the phone inside the Hatakeyama house?
まだ通じているようですよ。
It's still working, apparently.
いえ、やっぱり無線の方が早いです。
No, radio's faster after all.
それじゃあちょっと失礼します。
Anyway, please excuse me.
ああ、私もちょっと換気に。
Ah, I could use a cigarette.
タバコは車外でお願いしますよ。
Would you please refrain from smoking in the car? That's his favorite activity, though. After I returned the car keys, Ooishi-san and Chief Inspector Minai exited the Hatakeyama residence. Had there been yet another incident in some other town? There have been so many terrible incidents related to the curse in Hinamizawa. The great disaster of unknown origin, the series of mysterious deaths, and now the strange family murder case. The thing we are searching for is buried deep in this darkness, and why I can't help but hope that making contact with Chief Inspector Minai will be the fragment that will unravel the truth, no matter how small.
そうだな。
Right. While waiting for the two of them to return, I decided to visit the second floor of the Hatakeyama residence. After going up the stairs and turning left, I found the master bedroom. A business suite was casually laying across the double bed. Perhaps the wife, Yoshiko, got caught up in this incident right after she got home from work. This room was still full of lingering hints of life. The room across the hallway on the other side of the master bedroom belonged to the elder daughter of the Hatakeyama family, Aoi. It was a lovely room decorated with licensed merchandise and stuffed toys like an elementary school student's room. Only one peculiar thing in the room stood out. There was a well-organized study desk, and locked drawers had been forced open. Locked drawer, not multiple. There was nothing inside. Did someone take something out? Who on earth would do that, and for what purpose? While writing down the questions that sprang to mind in my investigation notebook, I quickly left the room. Though she was a bit older, being in this young girl's room painfully reminded me of Miyuki. I cleared my throat once more to straighten myself out, then moved toward the last room in the end of the hallway. But the door was difficult to open. This home must have been poorly built. So I pushed hard against the door while turning the knob, and it made an unpleasant rattling sound as it finally opened. A dark mass suddenly jumped into my eyes. It had the disgusting, sticky smell of ink and incense. Ugh. My legs suddenly halted. Every surface of the room from top to bottom was filled with the word curse. Every corner of the room was covered. Not even a millimeter gap was unfilled. What is this? Those words instinctively escaped me upon seeing this tremendous sight. Even when I covered my eyes with my hand, it seemed like that flood of words poured in through my eyelids. I timidly opened my eyes a crack to look around. The words that covered the entire room were mostly indecipherable, and the bizarre sheets of paper I saw near the entryway were stretched all around. The windows were covered with a thick black curtain that blocked all external light. Just then, I suddenly had a feeling of being watched, so I quickly looked back. A hanging corpse. In a small alcove, it looked like 4 bodies were hanging by their necks. Despite my heavy breathing and accelerated heart rate, I managed to pull the pen light from my breast pocket and turned it on. Looking more closely, the hanging corpses were actually large paper dolls cut out in the shape of humans. What is this? All energy drained from my body at once, but after inspecting them even closer, another horror made my skin crawl. The hanging paper dolls were engraved with the names of the 4 Hatakeyama family members, as if these were effigies of the 4 of them. Not like those used in a prayer, but more like something you'd use to curse someone. I tepidly stepped forward with that thought running through my head, but couldn't think of anything to say. When I shone my light on the area, I noticed dribblings of candle wax scattered across the tatami mats. What on earth happened in this room? My heart ached at the overwhelming force of the blight before my eyes. I stopped thinking for a while and stood there, stunned. I suddenly began to feel dizzy, so I braced my hand against the nearby pillar. Tap. Something suddenly struck my shoulder from behind, and I spontaneously let out a short yelp. When I turned around, I found Ooishi-san looking my way in bewilderment. Oh, it's just you, Ooishi-san.
いやいや、驚かせてすみません。
Oh my, sorry for sneaking up on you.
それにしても凄まじいですな。
Anyway, all this is really terrible, huh? Yeah.
私もあっけに取られていたところなんです。
I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed by everything here.
お社様の怒りを鎮めるための儀式か。
This may have been a ceremony to calm Oishiro-sama's anger.
それにしてもこれは。
Even so, this is... Even for Oishi-san, who is intimately familiar with the history of Hinamizawa and their belief in Oishiro-sama, it was a sight to behold.
何か切迫した情念のようなものが伝わってくるようですね。
It seems to convey some sort of fear and tension, don't you think? After taking a deep breath to calm my mind, Oishi-san and I began to examine the room while taking pictures. Unfortunately, despite my initial fearful reaction, there were no suspicious clues other than the eerie ritual items.
そういえば、大石さん。
By the way, Oishi-san.
花田刑事から南井警部への連絡は何だったんですか?
What did Detective Hanada need to tell Chief Inspector Minai?
ねえ、まあ例の件です。
Yes, well, it pertains to the matter we've been discussing.
詳しい話は友井ちゃんから聞いてください。
Please check with Tomoe-chan to hear the whole story.
下で現場の写真を撮っていますので。
She's taking pictures of the crime scene down below. With only those words, I understood everything. Oishi-san silently nodded to me, then headed out of the room and down the stairs. I followed closely behind him. Having finished taking pictures, I could see Chief Inspector Minai in the living room on the first floor, picking up something with her tweezers and carefully placing it in a plastic bag. Plastic. When she noticed us coming down, she raised the bag to show it to us.
遺留品がまだ残っていました。
A lot of things were left behind.
帰ってから鑑識に回します。
I'll head back and turn these into the forensics team. It had shiny pearl color, looked like a medicine capsule. Forensics team must have missed it because it had slipped into a blind spot between the cracks of the tatami mats.
何なんでしょうか
What could it be?
これは。
家族の誰かの服用薬でしょうか。
Medicine someone in the family was taking, perhaps?
畳の縁で盲点になっていたようですね。
I found this in a blind spot at the edge of the tatami mats.
よしこ氏のものでしょうか
Could it belong to Yoshiko?
彼女はどうやら頭痛持ちだったらしいですから。
She apparently had chronic headaches.
かもしれません。
Possibly.
鑑識記録にもこれに関する記述がありましたね。
There was a note about this in the forensics team records. Chief Inspector Minai handed me the pill, and I tried to hold it up to light from the window. The dull prism-shaped capsule had a strange pattern on the inside.
赤坂警視。
Inspector Akasuka? Suddenly, after placing the items in her bag, Chief Inspector Minai turned toward me. Then she turned to Ooishi-san standing behind me and nodded before looking back to me and began to speak.
先ほど例の君吉家周辺で捜査を行っていた花田刑事から連絡がありました。
I received a message from Detective Hanada, who was investigating the incident involving the Kimiyoshi family.
どうやら祖母の君吉明が数日前から外出していないそうです。
The grandmother, Aki Kimiyoshi, apparently has not been seen for days.
家の中に引きこもっている
Does...
ということですか
Does that mean she's been holed up inside the house?
それならまだいいんですが、
If that's the case, then there's no problem.
気になることがあるということで、これからあの家の君吉当時に任意で聴取を行うそうです。
What bothers me is that Toji Kimiyoshi is apparently about to go in for voluntary questioning.
戻り次第報告があると。
There'll be further reports once we get back. Upon hearing the Kimiyoshi family name, I was instantly reminded of Natsumi Kimiyoshi's face. An innocent-looking girl that I ran into on a rainy day a few days ago. Could she and her family be getting involved in another tragedy? How long will this chain of misfortune go on? Rustle. Slowly looking back towards the source of the sound in the shadow of the shrine, an enormous spider was gently staring down at me. Why is the spider making that noise? Rustle, rustle, rustle. As if to laugh at me standing there, the spider disappeared back to its nest where its threads were stretched all around, filling the house with its disturbing sound. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Rustle, 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 rustle. Something in the palm of my hand released a cold feeling that pulled me back to reality. When I looked down at that something, I gently closed my eyes and searched my memories to remember what it was. Okay. 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 Let's go ahead and save there, because like I said, I want to do a run of blueprints, and just on the off chance that it goes, long. You know, on the off chance it goes long, I want to make sure we have time and I'm not up too late. So, we'll save there. And we'll continue this, pick this back up Saturday? We'll probably, hopefully, fingers crossed, can't guarantee, but we'll get like another big, like, Saturday kind of like chunk. Hopefully, decent chunk dent put in. So, I'm going to throw up a BRB, get that going. I'm going to get some water and all that, and get blueprints loaded up. And we will, I will be back shortly. Give me a handful of minutes here.